Alright, hey guys, so yesterday I had to get a bunch of errands done. The baby was not having the best day yesterday and stuff, but we got a bunch of stuff done that's, you know, just normal life stuff. But I came out to the garden and it seems like a bunch of things have been blowing up overnight. Granted, they're a little bit smaller than I would usually have them at this time of year, just because of with everything went with having the baby this year and getting onto a new property. You know, everything's running a little bit late this year, but it's still going really well. So I was pretty excited when I came out here and started looking around a bit, because I've got a few zucchini plants around that all of them are starting to get, oh, get my shadow out of the way here. Get some nice blooms on them. Got flowers starting to come in on those, which is great. And right behind this guy here, I've got my gloriolus daisies, which are all starting to get blooms on them also. This one in particular, I actually counted it, has 7 buds starting on it for blooms. The other ones each have 1 or 2 apiece. But so those are going to be beautiful flowers. Those are really nice. My marigolds, which I brought in as a deterrent, a sacrificial plant, and something to attract good pollinators. This is one of the smaller ones, but they're all doing really well. If we go over and look at the ones that are next to the potatoes, which I specifically planted there to hopefully deter moles. The moles don't like them very much. You can see all those guys over there are starting to come in really nicely. Now starting to bloom like crazy. And I've got to get that layer of soil on these potatoes today over this hay that we put in one of the last videos. But same thing, all of a sudden my cucumbers, right along with the zucchinis, every single one of them has a bunch of flowers on them. And the same thing, these are a little smaller than I'd like them to be for already being flowering, but it'll be nice. I'll take what I can get. And they'll keep growing up. We got a bee coming over to pollinate while we're talking, which is great. But those are doing really well. The green beans are blowing up over there. The peas are getting really tall. I'm really happy with my cabbages this year. I come over here, I have what's called Savoy cabbage over here. That's a Savoy cabbage. I have 6 of those growing around. And these are really good cabbages. I actually tried these for the first time last year compared to, oh, there's actually a weed growing up in there with it. Compared to your regular green cabbage. I highly recommend this plant, guys. It grows a little bit different. It gets this really crinkly leaf on it, and while your regular green cabbage is a really tight ball and kind of has that more bitter taste that cabbage has, this is a little bit of a looser leaf ball, and it also kind of gets a flavor that's in between a really nice lettuce and the cabbage. It has a little bit more flavor, more on the sweet side than the bitter side. It's a really good cabbage. But I also have purple cabbage, which I don't think is looking quite as beautiful, but it's doing really well too. I have a bunch of purple cabbages all around. And outside my main crops here, I had extra plants that I didn't have room for that I just planted on the outskirts of the garden, which they don't really seem to be doing much out there, but they might do okay, so we'll give that a shot. I've got 2 different kinds of onions growing. These are my yellow onions, and some of them, the tips on them started dying off, and that happened a couple weeks ago, I think, because we had a really dry week and then it poured like crazy, so I think the inconsistent watering got to it, but it seemed to have stopped and kind of is staying where it is, and they're starting to grow well, which is really good. And these are long day onions, so these won't be harvested for probably another month or 2. Well, those are growing really well, and there's a couple gaps where you can tell the onions didn't come in, but I have a bunch of extra bulbs, so I'm thinking about coming out and planting a few more, and then those will just either be harvested small or harvested a little bit later. I think I'm going to do that today, actually. If we come over, I've got a whole bunch of, all over here is all hot peppers, different kinds of hot peppers. And I am not surprised about this at all, because it has done this every year for me. And if I find the right plants that had them, where are we looking here? Oh, here we go. Here's one. And over here, my cayennes. We love cayennes. They are all starting to come in. I'm starting to get peppers on all those plants, which is great. I'm not surprised. Every year my cayennes do really well, and these will keep producing as the plant gets bigger. If it's anything like last year, we got a buttload of cayennes last year. And then if I come over to my jalapenos, you can see, if I can find one of the ones that had it. I was looking out earlier. Oh, here we go, on one of the taller ones. You can see, if you see there on my finger, we're starting to try to produce some little peppers. So these are all going really well. The celery I planted on the last video is still looking really happy over there. And then also, all my tomatoes are starting to get tons and tons of flowers on them. They're all like this. There's only one tomato plant that doesn't have as many flowers on it, but it could just still be working on it, which I'm fine with. So hopefully we should be getting plenty of good tomatoes in there. All my green peppers, which are in here with my tomatoes, are still quite small, but you know, the pepper plants always stay a bit smaller. They're not doing much yet. A couple of them have a little flower on them, but they haven't started to actually produce fruit yet at all. This is just one small bush, but you can see all the berries coming in, all the blackberries and raspberries. They are all along here. They're all along the front of the yard. And then last I checked, there are tons and tons of bushes out in the back fields by the fruit trees. There are so many berries that are starting to come in. I think I am definitely going to be doing some preserving and jamming this year, which I will so very much so be looking forward to that. You see all these little white flowers around. They're all over the place. And I don't know if you can tell in the camera or not, but if we get down low and look out across the land, I don't know how well you can see it, but that there's white specks all over the place. These are all the same flowers. And all of these are little blackberries. Little black brambleberries growing along the ground, and there's still a ton more coming in. So with this on top of the bushes that I showed you over on the side, we are going to have berries for days. But that'll be really nice. I mean, they grow all the way out the back, over the hill, down that way. There are tons of them. And out front of the herb gardens, which, yes, need to be weeded again, everything's coming in really well. I have 2 different lavender plants here, which are both looking quite nice. They're a lot bigger than they were when I put them in. The parsley that I had, which was honestly like half dead when I planted it, and I split it up into a bunch of clumps and planted it around, has all come back beautifully. I have a whole bunch of clumps here. We have one nice little rosemary plant back there, which in the climate that we live in, this will not be a perennial unless I dig it up and bring it inside. It will die over winter. But so I may do that. I haven't decided yet. We'll see what happens when the time comes. But I've already harvested some of that. It keeps growing right back, no problem. All the sage, the garden sage that we planted in back here, if you can see it in the shadow of the house, is all coming in nicely, and that will act as a perennial in the climate that we're in. And I've also got, I have some indoor basil and I have outdoor basil. This is my outdoor basil, and it's all coming back really well too. Somebody as a late housewarming gift, a kind of start of spring gift, had given me a big pot of basil for inside the house, so I keep that in there, and then I just took a couple little sprigs of it and brought it outside and stuck them in the soil, and they're coming right in. They took a little while to accommodate to being outside, but they're coming right in now, getting nice and big. And yeah, I really need to weed out here. That's probably going to be another plan for the day. And then if we go to the other herb garden, see, my chives are doing beautifully. These chives I've had for quite a few years. I've had them from all the way in the very first house we were in when we started this channel, which was way back when, quite a few years ago. And it's moved with me and been repotted and replanted. It's so hardy. You can see the flowers, I didn't harvest them all, but the flowers did pass. You can see that they're gone now. But the chives are still doing really well. I actually had some of them last night in a salad I had, so that was good. And then right next to it, I've got a pineapple sage that's coming in beautifully. I know it's a little different. I'd rather have the garden sage, but the pineapple sage just gets these really beautiful, tall, red spiked flowers on them that will be really good for attracting pollinators. It's got a nice smell to it. So that's kind of a luxury herb for me, but I liked it, so I got one little one and planted it in. And then right up front, which I'm trying to get to spread as a ground cover here, we've got some nice thyme, and that's starting to blow up. And then on the other side of the walkway, we have the walkway going to the spigot there. The walkway to nowhere. But we have two different Greek oreganos here. This one's a little bit smaller, but he's starting to spread a lot, which is really nice. And then I've got this Greek oregano here, and same thing, I've had this for a few years. I honestly cannot believe it survived because I had this in a pot last year, and that pot got infested with an ant's nest. I mean, I watered the thing and like hundreds of ants came pouring out of it. But it lived through it, and now it's really happy where I've put it. It's getting nice and big. Same thing, I had some of that last night, and it was really good. And then behind it, which isn't doing quite as well, I don't think it's too happy where it is. I'm not liking the color of it too much, but it's starting to spread. I have two different ones of it, one here and one right over here. These are both lemon bombs. They have a little bit of a darker color than I would like, and you can see they're getting eaten by something. But you can see if you can see in the shadow there, sorry, the light's not the best out here, but you can see they are spreading. They've got tons of little shoots coming up on the ground, so hopefully that'll be good, because this is also really good for keeping mosquitoes and things like that away. You can grab a little bit of it and rub it on your skin and that kind of thing, or even just leave the plants around you and things like that. It'll keep some of the mosquitoes away, which is really nice. On my steps here right next to the herb gardens, I have some dill, which is coming in. We actually, I just got this the other day. This is what I call a false perennial. It's not, the original plants aren't going to come back, but they seed themselves like crazy. And my mother has so much of it because it seeds itself all over her garden. So she was digging up a bunch of it anyway to just get rid of because it was overtaking the place. So she gave me a bunch in a pot so that I could plant it, and she gave me a ton to dehydrate, which I did yesterday. So the house had such an incredibly strong aroma in it. But so got some really nice plants here, and these will get really tall. They'll seed themselves all over the place. So I'm gonna figure out where I want to plant these so that next year when it seeds itself, we'll get a really nice patch coming in. So that's another plan for this week. And if we take a walk down our driveway here, you can see there, we have some here. And there's also some up at the front of the house by the other raspberry bushes that I showed you. And there's a bunch of grapevines there. It's probably hard to see on the camera, but all this, that's all grapevine. And there's a bunch above us too. They drop them all in the driveway. So hopefully we'll be able to get those come fall, which is exciting, just to be able to get those things that were already here and growing naturally. But we will make our way back up the driveway to the yard. Poor trees. Look at all those gypsy moths. Poor, poor trees. They're finally starting to slow down. I mean, it's just awful. I don't know if it's as bad as last year or if it's a little bit better, but it's just awful. This poor tree. If I can turn ya. Oh, driveway's getting hot on my feet. And look at this poor guy over here. Look at this. I like no leaves left on him. We just put our bat box on there, so now the poor bats, there's the bat box. And got like no shelter up there. Poor trees. And other than that, everything's starting to really blossom nicely. We've got a ton of wildflowers coming in. I know you can probably see behind me I need to mow horribly, but right now we do not have a tractor. We only have the push mower, so I either have to borrow a tractor or come out with the push mower, so it's just something else to get to, and I really need somebody to watch the baby while I do it, because otherwise I can't hear the baby monitor. So definitely need to get to that, but otherwise at least, you know, it's leaving a lot of flowers for the pollinators in the meantime. But other than that, I will see you guys on the next one. I just wanted to update you on how everything is going. I gotta get off this driveway because my feet are burning. But I'm gonna get back inside to the baby because he just woke up to his nap, and then I'm gonna go get some other chores done. And I will see you guys next time. Have a good rest of your day, and God bless. Bye, guys.